All righty. Howdy, Aiden. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you, Tanya?
Good, good. Well, thank you for joining me today. So, you are an acupuncturist, but you do a lot of other things. So, today we're actually going to be talking about emotions, and you're going to give us some tools on how to deal with our emotions more effectively during this pandemic. Because I don't know about you, but I know I'm riding the wave of emotions from like anxiety to hopeful to feeling good to stress to oh my God, all of those emotions all the time on repeat. So
Absolutely.
so that'll be really, really awesome. And I'm sure the viewers will be stoked. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into that?
Sure. So I studied Chinese medicine at the National University of Natural Medicine in Portland, Oregon. And the thing is that Chinese medicine is actually a whole system of medicine. So it's an umbrella under which, acupuncture is just a small piece of the medicine. It's a very powerful piece of the medicine, and I love it. But there are so many other components to Chinese medicine. And what I love so much about Chinese medicine is that it really looks at the whole system of a person. And so that includes, every aspect of your life, your emotional life, your personal life, your professional life. It includes nutrition. It includes how do you take care of yourself, like with sleep, with things like exercise. How do you deal with your emotions through things like mindfulness and stuff like that? There's in Chinese medicine, there are different movements that we do that help to regulate your energy in really powerful ways, like qigong. So it's just really this very large, broad spectrum of modalities that I can use.
Well, I love Chinese. I've always been fascinated by Chinese medicine, and me, I'm all into like holistic healing and looking at the whole body rather than just symptoms and slapping band-aids on issues. And obviously, nutrition is very, very important, which is why I'm so passionate about what I do. But then there's, the other component, which is where you guys come in and kind of give us a helping hand with whatever issues we may be having, which is super cool.
So as far as one thing that I'd like to say is that I think that Chinese medicine is really uniquely positioned to deal with emotional issues that come up, because we find that there really is no separation between the mind and the body, right? So if you're undergoing stress, it has a major negative impact on your physiological system.
Right.
And we see things like, when people get really stressed out or angry, what are the symptoms that they tend to have, right? It's like you get a headache, or people who over a long time have like a lot of stress and anger tend to get high blood pressure and things like that. So we begin to make these correlations or associations between specific organ systems and emotions. And so there's some really cool associations there that we can talk about in a little bit if you'd like, but it really becomes helpful then in understanding what are the things that we can do to support these systems.
Right. I love it. Yeah. So cool. Well, at least for me, I know, sorry, I was just checking. I think there's always like some technical difficulties going on. So we're live on my coaching page, but we're not live on my regular page, which is fine because we can share that. So that's cool. Yeah. So tell us I know I used to suffer from anxiety really, really badly many, many years ago. And I've, learned coping skills with that for my anxiety. And I don't have it as bad as I used to. But, what's your favorite tool for people who suffer from anxiety, maybe panic attacks, that kind of stuff? And, also being isolated doesn't help either, because I think it tends to amplify all of these emotions. So yeah, what's your favorite tool for anxiety?
So to start with, one thing that I would do, and I posted this actually on my Instagram page today, and that's like the power of reframing and the power of our words.
Right.
So for example, with this social distancing terminology that we've been using since the beginning, I feel like this has led to a lot of people feeling isolated and like they don't have the connections, or they don't have the opportunity to have the connections that they had before the pandemic happened. And so if we just made a simple shift to that terminology and said, let's focus on physical distancing right now because it is important, but socially, there's so many ways that we can connect, and we actually don't want to distance ourselves from one another socially right now. And I think that we're seeing in a lot of areas that people are really hopping on that, but we need to make the language catch up. Right. So even just that, I feel like, can help change people's perspective and say, oh, I just am not going to be able to be in physical proximity with people, but there's still so many ways that I can really connect with my friends and, my family and other people.
Yeah. I love it.
And so then as far as like anxiety and all the other many emotions that we have been experiencing, such as fear, uncertainty, frustration, and then you're right, there is hope and inspiration and breakthroughs that, people are having, which is really beautiful.
Yeah. It's quarantine has been really good for me in my business. I've actually done things I was afraid to do, but was forced into doing. And so there's been a lot of personal growth for me during this time. And that's a real positive, which I love. And that's the kind of stuff I try to focus on. What about anger? Anger is a good one. I know there's some angry people right now. Rightly so. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of political things associated with COVID, lots of stuff going on. There's a lot of anger, and I see it all over the internet, online. What are your thoughts on anger?
So before I get into specifically anger and anxiety, what I want to say is that I think it's important to take a multi-pronged approach to working with our emotions, which means, meditation is a really powerful way to get in touch with what we're actually experiencing, but in the beginning for people, that might feel very overwhelming if you've never practiced it before and you're just, sitting with like that anger, that overwhelm. And so there are also other things that we need to be doing simultaneously. I think one of the most important things that we should be focusing on is self-care. So like, what are the things that you do to resource yourself? Meaning, what makes you feel comforted, grounded? What makes you feel happy? So for some people, it might be looking at pictures of puppies, and that like brings some sort of joy to them, for some people, it's like Epsom salt baths and, adding essential oils are incredible allies for all different types of emotions, right? So that's a great way. For some people, it's they really feel emotionally nourished when they have good food,
Right.
And so it could be that, I think one huge thing for self-care is when you are in a situation where everything's uncertain and you're not going to work, or maybe, your work schedule has dramatically changed, you've lost a routine, right? That sense of routine that you have in your life. So maybe a way that you can care for yourself is setting a routine for yourself every day, like that. I'm going to get up and in the morning, like maybe I'm going to go for a little walk, and like be outside for a moment and just sort of like schedule your day a little bit.
It's funny you say that, because that's what I tell my people when it comes to overeating, because overeating during quarantine is like a big thing right now because we're constantly snacking. But sticking to trying to stick to your regular schedule before all of this happened is a really good tip.
So to me, the most important thing before we start really diving into the emotions and like really being present with and processing what's coming up for us is that we have to feel like we're resourced enough first, right? So that's number one key, so as long as you have all those things in place and you feel like you are grounded and safe, then there are some really powerful things that we can do to actually go in and explore some of these feelings that are coming up for us. Because for most of us, what happens when uncomfortable feelings come up is that we have 1,000,001 ways that we try and distract ourselves, right? So it's like, oh crap, I feel really uncomfortable and anxious right now, so I'm gonna go eat, that cookie, or I'm gonna go watch that TV show, or just so many different ways that we check out.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, as you're like starting to explore meditation and how to work with these emotions, I highly recommend that you get like a mentor or a teacher or a guide that can help you through. Some of these are available online. Some people that I really love who talk beautifully about how to be with what is actually happening within you are people like Pema Chodron, Tara Brach. They're meditation teachers that are really amazing. There's many, many books out there. There's a woman, Katie Bryan, or Byron Katie.
Byron Katie. Yeah. I've read her.
She wrote that book, Loving What Is. And it's a really courageous practice to begin to allow ourselves to be with what's really happening inside of us. So I want to give people those resources first. But then, for example, you said anger. Okay, so anger in Chinese medicine is associated with the liver and gallbladder organ meridians and system. And when we talk about liver and gallbladder from a Chinese medicine perspective, we're not necessarily talking about the physical liver like you would from a Western medicine perspective, although there is overlap. But the liver and gallbladder is associated with anger. So what happens when when that emotion gets stuck and we either resist it or we overindulge in it, then our system, what happens to our system? It becomes tense, right? Like we get a lot of muscle tension, a lot of muscle pain. Basically what we're doing is we are contracting around the flow of energy within us. And so then we feel frustrated, and all of this stuff. So if we can learn, like I said, once we feel resourced, to breathe into that intensity, because anger is just energy. It's energy that has a certain quality to it, and we name that quality anger.
So when you said liver and gallbladder is not necessarily talking about the organ itself, what do you mean by that? So is that where the energy gets stuck?
So there's energetics that are also associated with that system. So, from a Chinese medicine perspective, energetically, the liver and gallbladder is associated with our motivation, right? Like with our ability to have a vision and work towards it, with our ability to make decisions. There's a lot of other ones, and it would take forever to.
No, that's cool. I'm just so fascinated by all of this stuff.
But, that's a few of the qualities of the liver gallbladder. When, it's in a state of balance and health, we're able to do those things with ease. When we are in a state of stress, right, then we become like confused. We can't make a decision. We can't decide. We can't move forward. Things like that. And what's really good that we're talking about right now, the liver and gallbladder, is that the season that's associated with those organs is the springtime. So we're in that energetic season right now. Which is also very interesting because the events that are happening on the world stage are very much in that energy right now, right? And so what you find when you start to explore this stuff is that there are cycles and seasons to everything, and things begin to make a lot of sense. And if you can begin to learn how to work within those cycles and seasons and with those energies, you can find a lot of peace, I think.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, totally. So what are some of your favorite self-care practices? So
for me, I love taking Epsom salt baths. And since we're talking about the liver and gallbladder in spring, so the essential oil that is really the best essential oil for relieving muscle tension, and it's been used in massage therapy and other places for a really long time, is lavender.
Oh, I love lavender.
So adding
it in my shower. So when I'm not taking a bath, if I don't have time to take a bath or whatever, I'll just sprinkle a few drops like in my shower and just like.
Yeah, like it just fits up, right? Like, so, the oils are amazing because they work on a couple of different levels. They actually have a physiological effect when they touch our skin, because our skin actually allows an entryway where that goes directly into our bloodstream. Right. So that effect can be really powerful, especially when you combine that with acupuncture points. And so I teach people how to do that. But in addition to that, one of the reasons that essential oils are so powerful is that they stimulate our limbic system. And so this is why they have such a powerful like emotional effect, right? It's like when you smell something, right, it can bring back a memory of an emotion.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And so the lavender is also accessing your body on that level as well.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'm all about essential oils. I love them. You know, there's so many toxic ways to make your home smell nice or to, you know, whatever. But I just feel like essential oils is so great for like healing, for making the house smell nice, you know, diffusing. It's like my favorite. They're my favorite things to use. Topically, diffusing them every which way, using them in the shower. I just love it. Love it.
The thing with essential oils that you want to make sure that you really look at and research well is that essential oils are not regulated by any body, which means that a lot of them are adulterated because, you know, people want to make money, and so they mix them with other things that are not good, fillers.
So what are your favorite brands?
So the brands that I currently use are, I use doTERRA essential oils for a couple of oils, specifically actually lavender, because in my search, in my opinion, that's the best lavender that I have found.
Okay.
You know, other people may have a different experience, but I love snow lotus essential oils. Those are organically wild crafted, and they're sourced very well. They're very high quality.
Nice.
I know that Tiffany Pollard is coming out with a line of essential oils that is also very highly sourced. And you can just Google her name and find out. I don't actually remember the name of her company because it's just launching. But and there are many, many more. I would just say make sure that you research it well.
Yeah, well, it's like that with everything. It's like that with supplements and everything. You need to do your research and make sure that you're getting the purest form of whatever it is that you're purchasing. Very important. Okay, so tell us, is there anything else you want to cover when it comes to emotions?
Yes, I would say that so when we talk about meditation, a lot of times people get overwhelmed and they think that, oh, I can't meditate because I can't sit still for an hour or, you know, like a really long period of time. And the thing is that it doesn't have to be that, you know, like it could be as simple as learning to catch yourself. So you talked about anxiety originally. So when we are in a state of anxiety, our energy is not grounded in our body, right? Like we're all in our head. And so we're spinning out of control and the anxiety just fuels itself, right?
Right.
And so the greatest way to interrupt that would actually be so simple as to just put your hand on your belly and stop for a moment and take 3 gentle, full belly breaths and really pay attention to the physical sensation as your hand expands on the inhale, your belly will push out. So feel that, like really tune into that sensation. And then as you exhale, your hand will collapse as your belly goes in. And just feel the sensation of the breath as it comes into your body, and just begin to notice like the state that you are in right now. We're not trying to change anything. We're not trying to make anything go away. I think that that's the most important thing to understand. When we're dealing with emotions, the quickest way to continue a pattern and be stuck in it is to try and make it go away or resist it. Right? Whatever we resist persists.
Exactly.
So we have to learn how to accept, to come into a state of acceptance for what is going on inside of us.
Well, like you said, we try to make our emotions go away, especially the ones we don't like, right? So we're all about happiness and excitement and all of that stuff. But the minute we start feeling a little bit of discomfort, we start reaching for things and we try to numb out, make it go away. And I think it's really important to let yourself feel these emotions, because I think when you lean into them and accept them for what they are, they pass a lot quicker than they would, you know, because I feel like when you numb out, it comes back in full force somehow, some way, somewhere, you know, and then you have to deal with that anxiety and it's like amplified. So if you just lean into it, feel it, accept it and move on, then it's done.
Well, 100%, you know, it's just like, I think about emotions as information. or, you know, as energy, right? Because everything is just energy and information. So we label them and create meaning and story about what that a particular emotion means.
Right.
And collectively, we've agreed on a lot of those meanings, right?
Right.
However, if you just actually go into the energy, let's say, of anger, you know, like you can discover so much about what that energy is, is showing you in your life, right? Like, for example, a lot of times when we feel angry or frustrated, it's because in some way we have taken a victim mentality in our life or stance in our life, right? So we have been disempowered in some way, and we have also disempowered ourselves in some way, right?
Yeah.
So we get angry, right? So if you can be with that energy actually and see what it's trying to show you, like maybe there's something that you have not been stating clearly about your boundary.
Right? I was not going to say that, because that's when I find I get the most angry and at myself, when I am not asserting my boundaries.
Yes.
And I get really, really frustrated and really, really angry. So
100%, yeah. So if you allow yourself to go and look at that, then, you know, you actually find empowerment, because you're like, whoa, I'm getting angry because I haven't spoken up my truth, right? I haven't spoken my truth to this person in this moment. And so then you can come from that place of your heart and what your truth is. And when you speak from that place, it diffuses the situation, right?
Right.
Instead, most of the time, what we do when we feel that is we go into judgment, blame.
Yes, and get angry at other people.
Right, and then projection. Yes. And then it creates this very vicious cycle that never ends, because we have given our power away.
Right, right. We don't take responsibility for our...
100%. It's about taking responsibility.
Yeah. No, I learned that the hard... Well, you know, I learned that because I used to be like that, and I used to always get angry and blame other people. And at one point I was just like, okay, is it really all of these people, or is it you? Like, you know, you have to look inwards and really evaluate what's going on. So feel the feelings, understand why. And another thing I love to do is journal, like write about it, you know.
Yes.
Write everything out, your anger, whatever, and don't try to do it in a certain way. Just let the words flow, let them come out, you know. And that's what I do, and it's so helpful. But yeah, it's all about taking responsibility for your actions and your emotions, and yeah, really working on it.
That actually, when you talked about journaling, made me remember something that I meant to mention originally in the beginning, and that is the practice of gratitude.
Yes.
That practice, because the emotional gratitude actually can help us deal with, it's a way that we resource ourselves, and it's a way that it allows us to open our perspective, right? Because when we feel like we're caught up in these emotions, our perspective gets very, very narrow and very limited. When we practice gratitude, it opens our perspective much wider, and we see things differently. And the thing is, you know, like you were saying, we all have the opportunity to choose how we are going to approach what's happening to us right now, right? Like, and I'm not discrediting or trying to say that what's happening to us is not very scary, is not uncertain, doesn't have all of these qualities, you know, is not very serious, that it's not impacting people's lives in really painful ways, because all of that stuff is absolutely happening.
Right.
And we can choose how we're going to use those experiences, right? Are those experiences going to make us angry and close our hearts?
Right.
Or are those experiences going to soften our hearts and make us respond instead of react, right? Like, you can
That's
respond.
so perfect that you said that, because when it all started, I thought to myself, wow, you know, obviously went through all of those emotions and was just trying to figure out, you know, is this as serious as they're saying it is? What's going on? And, you know, just trying to figure out exactly what was going on. And rather than feeling all of that anxiety and stress, I decided to channel it into being of service. to people, right? So how can I help people? How can I get out of my own head and stop making up stories? Because let's be real, nobody ever really knows the full truth, right, of what's going on. And so rather than making up stories and stressing out and getting sucked into all of the negativity online, I decided to see how I could help people. Like, what can I do? Can I go grocery shopping for someone? Because I'm young, I'm really healthy, and I would be happy to do that for somebody who wasn't able to. And that really, really helped get me out of my head.
Yes, I love it. That is so wonderful. That is an amazing way that we can approach what's happening right now. And like you said, you know, like for you, quarantine has been opening up all of these possibilities, right? You're seeing that. And what I've experienced in my own life personally and seen in the lives of pretty much every single person that I've ever worked with is that, you know, it is through adversity in these difficult times that we learn and grow the most as people. And if you even think about it as like nature and the way that plants grow, right? Things start out as a seed. There's an enormous amount of pressure that's on that seed as it is trying to sprout and push its way through that dark, wet, heavy, dark, you know, talk about darkness, you know, there's no light that's really going on underneath the soil, you know, but that seed has within it its own light, right? It has within it its own life force, and it's connected to the life force that is going on through everything, right? And so it just continues to push and push and push. And that pushing shapes it, it molds it, it makes it stronger, you know, and then it breaks through into the light and it sprouts and we see the beautiful thing, right? Which is the tree or the plant or the flower, right? And the thing is that as humans, we love the beautiful thing, right? We love the good we love what we label the good thing.
Right, exactly.
Which is, you know, what's pleasant, what feels good, you know, but that thing wouldn't exist if it hadn't have been for that struggle that the seed went through.
Very true. Right? Very, very
true. We have to remember, and as we begin to change our perspective and see life this way, then we see the things that are challenging in our life differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It empowers us, which is what I want to help everybody sort of remember, that there's an extraordinary amount of power inside of us. And one of the,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to just say, one of the greatest gifts that this pandemic and quarantine is giving us is that it's forcing so many of us to focus our awareness and attention inside, right? Like before this, when we're running around, you know, everybody says, I don't have time for anything, and your life is going a million miles an hour, and, you know, like it's so much easier to distract yourself, you know, just like all of this stuff is, you know, one of the gifts of the quarantine is that it's giving us this opportunity to do a deep dive and to see that actually everything that we need and the greatest power that we have lies inside of us.
Right. Well, that leads me to my next question. And obviously, this situation has affected your business. Obviously, you're a hands-on guy. You work with people. So what have you done to pivot and shift, and what kind of services are you offering people right now?
So one of the latest things that I'm offering and that I'm the most excited about is I am actually giving a love offering or a gift offering to healthcare workers right now, nurses and doctors and other people who are working on the front lines of COVID-19. And offering them guided meditations and also just some breath awareness techniques that they can do very quickly and simply in the environment and moment that they're in, that can help just sort of like reset them in a moment, help ground them, help resource them, like we've been talking about.
That's so nice, because I don't think, you know, we talk about being stressed, anxious, and I feel like these guys are like on the front lines battling it all. Risking their lives, working incredible hours. So I love that. I think that's such an awesome gift you could give them. So if
I hope that if you know people who are in the healthcare field and who are working directly with COVID-19 patients or in an environment that's impacted by that, that you'll share that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that almost made me cry talking about them. Like I have such a deep appreciation for everything that they're doing. I have a lot of friends who work in hospitals, so yeah, I'm feeling their pain and really appreciative of everything that they're doing, and that's a really cool offering. So what else, if you have, if people are seeking your services, what else do you have to offer?
So they can also sign up for Zoom sessions with me where we can go through, basically the thing that we really focus on in Chinese medicine is meeting people where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So every person is going to be experiencing something different through all of this, right? So, I can meet people if they're at a place where they're really in a lot of physical pain or there's a lot of physical things that are going on. We can talk about different options for that using things like nutrition, Chinese herbs, Western herbs, acupressure, which is also very powerful. Using essential oils on acupressure points has a dual effect, right? It has the effect of not only the aroma, but also the physiological effect that oil is going to have on the system, because the oil itself contains chemical compounds that are going to interact with your own body's chemistry in a way. And that point is going to send a signal to your brain that tells your brain, hello, pay attention, we need some energy over here.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there's really powerful things that you can do with essential oils and acupressure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to share all of this information with us. How can people get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me through my phone number. I guess you can Google me, Heart Center Transformational Wellness.
Some stuff around.
I'm not sure. I'm just going to say my phone number right now. But, through Google, Googling Heart Center Transformational Wellness, through my website, through my Instagram, which is at Heart Center ACU, through my Facebook business page, which is Heart Centered Transformational Wellness. And then I also have a Facebook personal page, which is AJSER, SARE, and then through LinkedIn.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you again for taking the time out and hanging out with me. Any last words?
Just, I want to remind everybody that we're all in this together, and that if we can remember that and remember how connected we are to one another, I feel like that can in and of itself provide a lot of comfort. I feel like when we are in social isolation or social distancing, it can often feel like we're alone.
Right.
And when we feel like we're alone, that creates a stress response in the body. And loneliness has actually been found to have significant detrimental effects on our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
So reach out, reach out to the people in your life who might, be experiencing loneliness, especially people who are older, many of them live alone, so reaching out to those people, just reminding people that, we're together in this and that we can provide support and love to one another.
I love that. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to get in touch with Aiden, you can get in touch with him through somewhere on this video. He's a really awesome guy, and we will be back soon with some other tips, tricks, tools. Yeah?
Yes.
Sounds good. Awesome. All right. You guys have a good day. Bye.